Commission tonight, June 8th, 2021. Roll call, please.
Vice Chairman Cox.
Here.
Or Chairman Cox. Vice Chairman Ferris.
Here.
Commissioner Hayman.
Here.
Commissioner Mondragon.
Here.
And Commissioner Jenkins is joining us via WebEx.
Thank you. Would you please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? Travis, would you lead, please? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please be seated. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda?
So move.
I'll second.
Chairman Cox.
Aye.
Vice Chairman Ferris.
Aye.
Commissioner Hayman.
Aye.
Commissioner Mondragon.
Aye.
And Commissioner Jenkins.
Do we have Mr. Jenkins on the phone?
I can hear him.
That's still a quorum. Let's move on.
Okay.
Do I have approval for the minutes of 4/27/2021?
I'll move.
Second.
I'll second.
Chairman Cox.
Aye.
Vice Chairman Ferris.
Aye.
Commissioner Hayman.
Aye.
Commissioner Mondragon.
Aye.
Commissioner Jenkins. We still can't hear him.
Looks like he's talking.
How about now? Aye.
Hi.
Thank you,
Okay.
sir. Okay, we need to move into the public comments section of the agenda. Persons wishing to address the commission on matters that are within the commission's jurisdiction and do not already appear on the agenda may do so at this time. Pursuant to the Brown Act, the Planning Commission may not take action on an item that does not appear on the agenda. Speakers are limited to 5 minutes. The public comment section of the agenda is limited to a total of 1 hour. Each speaker is asked to provide his or her name. Do we have anybody that would like to speak to us about anything that's not on the agenda? Any callers? No callers. Anybody here in the gallery? Seeing none, we will move on. Moving into our second section, we move into a public hearing. I'd like to open this hearing at this time. This is a site plan review 21-02, Dutch Brothers Coffee, an application for a drive-in restaurant located at 201 South China Lake Boulevard on vacant land, zone general commercial, APN 478-102-07 and 06. Staff report.
So the project site is located at 201 South China Lake Boulevard. The site is currently 2 parcels that are vacant with approximately a little over 38,000 square feet. The property is zoned general commercial. Restaurants and drive-thrus are permitted uses in this zone. The site is currently vacant and underutilized with the surrounding commercial uses. This is the location map. This is the site plan. So what's included in the site is the single-story 900 square foot building. There's going to be 12 regular parking spaces, the 1 ADA parking stall, and future EV charger. So for this project, the municipal code requires 1 parking space per 75 square foot of restaurant space. But this project doesn't include indoor dining. So I went ahead and figured the parking based on the 300-foot canopy for the walk-up service. And so the requirement would be 4 parking spaces. So they have more than enough. I cannot know. So access to the site is off of China Lake Boulevard. I know. And off of the alleyway. This is the elevations. The proposed buildings are visually interesting and will be constructed with a variety of vertical and horizontal facades. The trash enclosures match the same materials as the building exterior. And then the last comment that I would make is in the conditions, we require that they have a parcel merger for the parcels and that they submit landscaping plans. And at this time, they've already done that. So they've already moved forward on that. And the environmental for this would be a categorical exemption for the infill development. Staff is going to recommend approval of the conditions as presented in the attached resolution. We do have project representatives on the WebEx call, so if you guys have questions for them, they can answer that. And also Travis, if you have any of the public works requirements.
So I have a question for staff. Can you give me the width of the drive off China Lake Boulevard? Is it 40 feet? 60 feet? 20 feet?
So based on preliminary review, I don't have an exact dimension for you, but it is said to meet the minimum standard of a commercial drive approach per the RMC.
For both ingress and regress?
Correct. So it should have a minimum throat distance. If my memory serves me, of 27 feet.
So we have a representative online. Would he know? Would the architect or engineer?
This is Nick Wecker, Senior Planner at Barkhouse, if you guys can hear me.
Yes. How are you tonight?
I'm great. It's great to be here with you guys. Thank you for hearing our project today, and it's a location that Dutch Bros is really excited about, so we've been looking forward to this evening. To answer the question, I heard it kind of quietly, but it sounded like you're asking about the driveway width on the approach from China Lake Boulevard. Is that correct?
Correct.
It's 26 feet.
Thank you, sir. Does Public Works have anything in addition they want to share with us before we turn it to public in respect to the resolution and conditions of?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. This is Travis Reed, Public Works Director for the City of Ridgecrest.
You may have to speak up if they're going to hear.
Can everybody else hear me? Hopefully. This is Travis Reed, the Public Works Director for the City of Ridgecrest. After a detailed review of the site plan, we have come to the conclusion that due to the trunk line sewer in China Lake Boulevard and the non-existence of Y branches and the one that is currently in place and structural defects of grade 4 and grade 5, which are not good, that no sewer could be connected in China Lake Boulevard at this time. Therefore, their sewer is going to mimic what we have seen in the past from other developments on the northern portion of that alleyway, and they will construct a sewer line that comes out the west side of the parcel and then heads north to California Avenue. Secondly, there were some prominent members of the Public Works staff that felt a traffic study was necessary. Currently, the intersection at California and China Lake Boulevard is built out. The major issues and concerns from staff were queuing times, the length of the turn pocket, and detailed signal, what's the word for it? Timing. Thank you. I don't know why I couldn't think of that word. Timing to make sure that there wouldn't create a backup on China Lake Boulevard. After my review, I'm going to take full onus of this. I felt the need to strike that requirement. It's my professional opinion that since the intersection is built out and it is a signal that is owned and operated by the city, that the city has the latitude to change timing and take other additional measures to help aid if queuing times become a problem. With looking at the amount of off-site improvements that the developer has to do in regards to the alleyway and the drive approaches in which he enters, we felt that, or I felt that, I should say. I felt that that was a little absorbent because I really don't know what that would have accomplished for us in the terms of they're not doing any work in China Lake Boulevard, so what are we actually going to have them do with this report? And with that, I'm open for any questions.
Okay, so for the commission, before I turn it over to the commission, and this is just my perspective on that, I don't think it's warranted either. From this standpoint, if you go to Ridgecrest Boulevard in China Lake, it is relatively not any longer. There's many times that there hasn't been enough turnout or turn pocket to turn onto Ridgecrest Boulevard going west. And the traffic seems to accommodate it just fine. And so to put that additional burden on them, I don't feel like that would be appropriate. I have one other question in our discussions before turning it over to the commission. Floodwater.
So Floodwater, we took a detailed look at that. There were staff that felt that on-site detention was necessary. Although we don't feel that it's out of the question, we just received some detailed grading plans, and the quantities show that it is short. One of the staff recommendations will be to put a minor drainage swell in the front landscaped portion on the north side of, not the north side, I'm sorry, on the east side of the property, due to the way that they want to have their catch basins feed into the existing bubbler. The existing bubbler is, well, to put it mildly, a bubbler. It basically takes positive head to force water from the west side of China Lake Boulevard to the east side of China Lake Boulevard. And staff's concerns with on-site detention was based off of streets divisions saying that they see localized flooding at times, and they also see, if you look at when the topo and when the drawings were done, they noted that it was full of water when they shot it. After seeing the design, their design work was great, CAD work was great, it was very easy to follow, so that was very nice to look at a drawing and actually be able to understand what was going on. They're proposing to connect the catch basin system that they have on site directly to the bubbler. Staff has some minor concerns with that design and is going to recommend placing a minor drainage swell in the front with an overflow into their under curb drain on the south side of the property, thus maybe knocking a portion of the peak runoff off and maybe helping to not flood the bubbler out and cause ponding in that area. One other thing that's notable is, I really don't know the dates, but back in the 80s or 70s, we had a minor drainage culvert that was another bubbler on the north side of Church Avenue. And during reconstruction of China Lake Boulevard, and again, don't quiz me on the year because I don't know, it was hit and therefore it was plugged and removed. So we see basically all the loading of water from the north side of China Lake Boulevard, not China Lake Boulevard, I'm sorry, from the north side of Church Avenue coming down that road, and its only means to get across the road is that Parkview Avenue bubbler. So of that water, it's my opinion that this site is only going to generate a small fraction of the water that bubbler has to handle. So long as we can mitigate how quickly they force water into it so they don't take the full capacity of the bubbler, we don't see that being a major concern. However, it is something that we do feel we need to address slightly with the grading plans that have been received.
So do you feel that there needs to be a condition in here as far as the grading plan and putting a small detention on the property because of the shortfall on the property? Or leave it as is and let staff work with the grading plan?
I personally think that we should let staff work with the grading plan. I wouldn't want to see the commission place a condition on the site if their engineers could come up with a better alternative or a better solution. And also, I would feel it would be a little out of place for the commission to place a condition on this that doesn't follow typical engineering standards. So if you were going to place a condition, I would think that it would need to have been analyzed, and detention would have needed to have been included in the site plan and told to them up front. Whereas a 10-year, 24-hour event, we're talking about a significant amount of water and a significant amount of that site that they would have had to utilize for on-site detention. So I think this is a good compromise. The drainage swell that they could dig in the front would aid in balancing their site, so it's a positive to them, and it's also a positive to us because it would knock some of that peak flow off and aid in that buffalo not being overrun at the initial drop of the storm.
So since you opened the door and you talked about the flood culvert that was taken out, the plan is long-term to repair it, to bring it back.
That is one of the methods right now that staff is currently looking at. We're thinking about if we start to see a problem from this development, that would be something that we would maybe move towards the top of our list. We've got a pretty aggressive project program this year, but in the near future, if we start to see a problem there, that would be something that we could do. We could
But this is a
replace.
city responsibility.
I 100% think this is a city responsibility, yes, sir.
Okay.
Because we would not see the same load on that bubbler if that drainage device that was previously installed would be as it was in service.
Thank you. Commissioners? Commissioner Ferris?
Just a quick question about the alley access. I know that we're not doing a traffic study, but that could be something that may need to be looked at. Agreed?
When you're assuming what aspect?
So I understand the traffic right off of China Lake, but if they go up California and then down that alley, is that going to create some sort of unnecessary or unforeseen circumstances?
In my opinion, I don't think so. If you look at the design that they have here, they have quite the inventory for on-site queuing. So they've got 3 lanes of traffic. The alleyway is also quite long. We currently have a business that utilizes that alley. And granted, I've only been coming in that way now for 4 months, but I never once have seen that really becoming a problem. Everybody's pretty considerate, and there's a multitude of ways to get around that. If Beverage has that alleyway entrance blocked up, there's another opening just north on city grounds that you could turn and go to the back side of the alley and come in. So I would like to think our public, so long as traffic cones aren't set up, they do a pretty good job. So it is my opinion that I don't think that we would see a harsh change in traffic pattern over there.
Okay, thanks.
Also, it should be noted that they're doing the improvement on that,
Correct.
which will actually aid in any type of traffic flow there, too.
I would agree. The alleyway will be widened to its full width. It'll be paved. It's got an inverted crown type construction, so the waters that flow on it will flow in the center, and then will sheet flow when it reaches the newly installed handicap compliant inlet, which will have a wider throat than what is currently constructed. So I don't remember off the top of my head how wide it was, but I would bet the majority of vehicles, if there was one parked on the far west side, you could probably get another one around the east side to get to Dutch Brothers. So.
Thank you. Vanessa?
No comments right now.
Bernie?
That was actually one of my questions, is the alleyway. It's probably going to be torn up with the new sewer line, and I just wanted to make sure that that was going to be put back the way it was or better, but you answered that question.
Yeah, they are fully going to go back, and that will be a fully paved, constructed alley with, I believe the proposal is 4 inches of Class 2 base and 2 inches of AC.
Yes, and that's part of the conditions of the resolution.
So,
Great. My other question that I have is, as far as, to the north, we have Beverage, which is, asphalt parking lot, small building. They're proposing a pretty large area with, I'm assuming, pavement, asphalt, concrete. The landscape areas, are they going to have vegetation, trees, decorative rock?
I'm going to defer that question to Heather. That's more of a planning side, not so much public works. But judging by just looking at the CAD drawing, I would say there's going to be quite a bit of vegetation. Quite a bit
And I
of
think the
landscaping.
landscaping's what, 30?
So landscaping is over 26% of the site plan. The plans that they submitted include trees and rock. So there'll be a mixture of vegetation and rock.
Okay.
That good old golden California look.
Any other questions?
Yeah,
Bernie?
good.
Commissioner Jenkins?
So the one question that I have is, what's the timeline?
You talking about start or how long to construct? What kind of timeline?
Time to start, time to complete, so the entire end-to-end project.
Any estimations from staff? Developers on the line, any information from you?
Yeah, we're looking to really move as quickly as we can through the permit review process, working with Travis and the building department for the building plans, and then Travis for the grading plan, getting that approved. And if we can get it approved, within the next month or so, we're hoping to start construction this summer, and then it would be about a 90 to 100 day build. So we're looking at target grand opening by end of third quarter of this year.
Boy, my hat's off to you. 100 days. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. At this time, is there anybody from the public that would like to comment on this project? Both.
Either one.
Yeah, if it's on this project, you come right up here to the microphone and give your name and ask your question or a comment. We're easy going. We're not scary.
We don't bite hard.
Is this project, it kind of seems like it's happening, but there's some details to work out. Is that the case, or is this things moving forward, or is this kind of is it not 100% certain that this building is going to get built on the site we're talking about?
Well, what we're looking at right now are the conditions of. So in other words, they have prepared their information, submitted it to the city, and so that now the conditions need to be approved by the Planning Commission, and then they kind of move forward. So this is the public forum in which we look at it and either approve or don't, or send it back to staff for additional consideration or resolutions. A lot of times we might have, as we look at the resolutions, we may have thoughts that we shouldn't include that or we should include that, and we may take some and add some, and that's part of the process of the Planning Commission, is to look at this and see if that is reasonable. One of the questions that we'll get to for the developer that you'll hear me ask, and I'll give them a heads up, is and they're on the phone. Read the conditions of the resolution. Do you agree with them? Because they have to commit to this is where they're willing to go, because this is what the city is requiring. Does that answer your question?
Fully and completely, it does. Thank you. And for the record, my name is Justin Grasshauer, resident of Ridgecrest.
Very nice of you to come and participate.
Thank you. I have some questions about the alley. Is there only, I looked at some Google Earth pictures and it looked like the alley kind of dead-ended into the Ford dealership lot. Does the alley only have access to California Boulevard? Is that, like, as far as getting out to a street?
Yes.
Okay.
I mean, you can go down and it makes an L shape that you can go down and end up over on Church. But that will not be their requirement to improve.
Essentially, if you on your way out today, if you go out California and you hung a right into the alley, it goes till you see the Ford dealership, and then as he said, it L's into the back into the city parking lot.
Oh, I see that from the picture there.
Yeah, so then you can utilize the city parking lot to exit on Sanders Street, which takes you to Church, or you can go all the way south, or not south, gosh, I'm looking at the picture thinking of, go west to Warner Street. So there's multiple ways to get into that alley for ingress and egress.
Okay, I have one more detailed traffic question. If whoever's running the pictures, if we could go back to the site plan, the previous picture. So in the drive-through where all the 3 lanes converge and then they're coming out, is that like 2 lanes or is that a single?
Single.
Is that a single lane? Okay, so my question is, if someone has their coffee and they're about to get out of the drive-through and they don't want to turn right on they don't want to head south on China Lake, they want to turn left and get out of the alley so they can go the other way, and there's cars pulling in off of China Lake Boulevard, it looks like it's wide enough to kind of handle that, but that would be my only concern is people trying to turn left to go through through the parking lot to get to the alley while there's traffic coming in.
Oh, to get to the alleyway to go to California to hit the stoplight?
Yeah, so I just got my coffee, my car is aiming north.
Right.
And I'm going to turn left, and then there's people pulling in off China Lake Boulevard, real fast to get into the parking lot to get in line, and I have to wait for a break in that so I don't know. I'm just spitballing here on possible traffic. There's going to be timing. There's going to be a lot of traffic at this coffee stand. I'll just tell you that right off the bat.
Dutch Brothers is open.
There's going to be some kinks to work out with timing. The signals, I'm absolutely certain of it.
I would agree with you. I think that currently we just enacted we have a synchronization system that we turned on. We own the signals basically from California all the way to College Heights Boulevard, so south. When you get to Ridgecrest Boulevard, that's Caltrans right away, so we don't have really any jurisdiction over those. But we do have a signal timing system that allows for signal synchronization. And currently the cops utilize the left turn there to get back into the station. So the signal does currently give some priority to left turn, but since it is our signal, there probably will be some bugs, I would agree, that after we see how it goes to work out. But I really don't think it's anything that we can't handle for now.
Surely.
So
thank you.
I'll say, so I would add one other thing. If you would use, say, the McDonald's model, okay, so when you exit McDonald's, you only can turn one way. And then how close is it to that light?
People cut lanes to get in that protected turn to make a U-turn all the time.
Right.
It's kind of dicey.
And so we do see that intermixing, but we're not seeing people that are not allowing that to happen. And we're not seeing traffic jams. We're not seeing the accidents associated with it.
Excellent.
And so I think even with beverage and with this, I agree with our engineering department and our public works that I don't think that that's going to be an issue unless we become 100,000 people.
That's all the questions I have. Thank you.
I can hope.
Hey, but thank you very much for coming. We really appreciate seeing people get involved and put their input in. You don't realize how much help that is to have an outside perspective from multiple different people from the community.
Well, I didn't realize how much work there was involved in water management. That was incredible to hear all that. I enjoyed listening to that.
Well, thanks for your interest and thanks for your participation. We promise we'll try never to be scary. So, commissioners, any other comments? Any other comments from the public? No callers? So for our developer, do you remember the question I asked?
This is Nick, and what question is that?
The question is the conditions of the resolution that have been given to us. Have you read them, and do you agree with them?
Yeah, I just was consulting with my team, and we have reviewed them in full, and they all look acceptable to us without any further questions or comments.
All right, thank you. So, do I have a motion to approve Resolution 21-04?
I'll move.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Chairman Cox,
Aye.
Vice Chairman Ferris,
Aye.
Commissioner Hayman,
Aye.
Commissioner Mondrian,
Aye.
Commissioner Jenkins.
Aye.
5 ayes, motion carries.
Thank you, Commissioner Jenkins, for calling in.
Thanks, Travis.
Thank you, Travis. Moving on to our number 3, ordinance amendment, recommendation to the City Council to adopt definitions to the zoning chapter of the Ridgecrest Municipal Code for the terms family, supportive housing, supportive service, and target population. Staff report.
So, when the housing element was adopted in 2015, there was multiple terms that were identified that needed to be amended or added to the municipal code. If you guys remember at the beginning of the year when we did the 2020 annual progress report, we did make the determination to proceed with the amendments and adopt these definitions. So the definitions have been taken from the 2021 California Planning and Zoning Law, and they've also already been reviewed by the city attorneys. So the first, any of the underlined text is all new. So none of these terms are in the municipal code right now. So supportive housing and supportive services, target population, these are all just dealing with new laws that California has for these type of projects. And that is also transitional housing. So the one that is in our municipal code right now is family, and so the strike-through is what the municipal code currently says, and then the underline is the new text. So this would change the previous text to say family means one person living alone or a group of 2 or more persons living together, whether or not they're related by birth.
So basically broadens it.
It does. You know, when we say family, you know, it kind of, as it stands right now, it's, you know, blood or marriage, adoptions can't be more than 6 people. But those things are no longer valid by California law. So this just kind of updates everything. One of the reasons that we're tackling this now is that we will soon, within the next year, be working to update our housing element. And we don't want to be taking things that we said in 2015 we were going to update and say we still need to update them. So this is just moving forward with that. So the action tonight is just a recommendation to City Council to go through the process for the ordinance.
Thank you. Commissioner comments? Commissioner Ferris?
No comment.
Commissioner Hayman?
No comment.
Commissioner Jenkins?
Yeah, so I've got 3, so I'll ask and then go on mute and allow staff to respond to each one, but I do have 3 questions, 2 of which are from the community. So the first one is, what does this mean for our local Ridgecrest population?
Do you want an answer on each one of them individually?
Yeah, I think that would be a little bit smoother.
Well, and you want, Heather, go ahead.
So it doesn't, it's not any change. And technically, right now, the law supersedes our municipal code. So just because our code doesn't mention these things doesn't mean that we wouldn't be honoring it already. It's no change. Basically, these types of projects, if we were to see them in the future, would be permitted by right in residential areas, but it is very specific about the types of requirements for these projects. So it can't be, it has to be a certified, recognized, authorized project. So if it's some kind of counseling, then they have to have state certification to do that in order for us to allow it by right. Otherwise, like if you guys recall, we did the project with the men's recovery. Now, they don't have a license certification from the state, so that would still be a conditional use. But in the future, if someone comes to us to do something like that, but they have licensed counselors and they're recognized through the state, then they would have a use by right.
I think also, Commissioner Jenkins, just, this is Commissioner Cox, just a couple of things. If you look at the language that was struck or suggesting to be struck versus the language that they want to put in, that what is being struck is very limited. You have to be by blood, no more than 6, so on and so forth. It's restrictive in the aspect, imagine father, mother, 4 children, and grandma and grandpa's health is bad enough that they need to be taken care of. They don't fall into the old verbiage. And so you'd look at it now, one person living alone or a group of 2 or more persons living together, whether or not related to each other by birth, instead of blood, by birth. And so I think what it does is this new language is more inclusive and broadens the ability for the city to accommodate its residents. So if you received something from residents, I think that's what I would take away more than anything else, that it's inclusive and broadens the ability to take care of our residents.
Yep, thank you.
Any other
And then
questions?
The second one that I had, and this is the first one from the community, is are there any plans for development of housing under the new construct?
No, we haven't received no applications for anything like this. And again, if we did, whether or not we adopted these changes, we would still have to move forward with the projects because it is a by right. So, but at this time, we haven't seen any interest from anybody to move forward with anything like this.
Okay. And then the last concern that I had texted to me was, does this mean that the city wants to use these definitions to zone out these targeted populations?
Say that again.
Does do the new resolutions or kind of their interpretation, does that mean that the city wants to use these definitions to zone out these targeted populations? And Heather, I think that you already answered it in the by right response and kind of the by right clause.
Correct.
Is that correct?
Yes, that's true. And I think, as the chairman stated as well, it's more in line with inclusion for projects, not exclusion.
Awesome,
Yeah,
thank
and
you.
that's
That
what
answers
the
my
verbiage
question.
is for.
Yep, and that answers my question, and I'll relay that back to the community member. Thank you.
Thank you. Any
Thank
other
you.
thoughts? Okay.
Nothing else.
Then I would move that we adopt Resolution 2103 and send a recommendation to the city for the change. Do I have a motion?
So move.
Second.
Chairman Cox,
Aye.
Vice Chairman Ferris,
Aye.
Commissioner Hayman,
Aye.
Commissioner Mondragon,
Aye.
Commissioner Jenkins.
Aye.
5 ayes, motion carries.
I don't think so, but no one cares about it. It's okay.
Thanks, Bernie.
I had no comment.
Okay. At this time, we're going to close the public hearing at 6:40 and move on to discussion and other action items.
Oh, I have no items. Sorry. It's commissioner comments.
You do have something for us, or you want?
I do not, no.
Okay. Is there anything from the commission as far as discussion and action items?
Nothing for me.
Commissioner Jenkins?
The one thing that I would like to see, and it may be under future agenda items, is the communication plan or kind of the community engagement plan out of some of the additional community outreach that we've had with our code enforcement officer. I've had a lot of people reach out concerned, and I think those fears were captured last time pretty well. And so maybe a look at how to engage with the community from a planning commission in the future. Over.
Are you having any specifics, concerns that you're hearing?
So in particular, they are currently work from home, and felt like a conversation instead of the certified letter would have been appropriate, and sort of that, hey, just wanted to let you know that we're out, and this area of concern, what can we do to get it to work? And I understand that there's a process, however, the possibility of more community engagement and community involvement. Does that answer it and clarify, or do I need to be more specific?
Okay, so yeah, we might want to talk about what they think would work for us, because we're required, especially on a public hearing like what we did today, it has to be advertised in the paper, it has to be a certain amount in time. The agenda is on the web page. Is it more accessibility to the commissioners? I know that the city council has city email addresses. That could be something that we could look at for the commissioners to be able to engage with the community. That's kind of what I'm thinking. What kind of particulars would the community or yourself feel that we might offer to improve that communication?
So I think maybe just one inbox for the commission as a starting point. And that's partially why I'd like to see it as a future agenda option. So those that have those concerns or want to engage can help shape that interaction. And
Heather?
We can definitely add that as a future agenda item, because we can't make any action
Right.
on that tonight.
Right.
Because we do have a special meeting, so since we have a special meeting, we do have a very limited amount of items that we can talk about. So we can definitely put that on the future.
awesome. Thank you so
So at
much.
that point, try to come up with some specifics. Okay, commissioner comments or reports? Where this is a special meeting, why don't we wait till our regular scheduled for committee reports? Future agenda items, which all this is standard. Staff items, where this is a special meeting. Let's move it all to our latter part of the month agenda.
Yeah, so I will let you guys know that we will have our regular meeting on the fourth Tuesday as well. And at that time, we will have our regular. And then maybe we can get some feedback and put that on the agenda as well. But we will have we'll have a variance for a carport, and then a couple other items as well.
Okay, thank you. So if there's no other comments, we will close this meeting at 6:45.